Welcome back, everybody, to the Primas podcast. I am Cindy, and that's my beautiful Prima, Jess.
Hey, Prima.
I always interrupt you.
It's because of my delay. It's totally my fault.
No, stop.
It is.
It's all beautiful and how it should be.
I'm digging your Halloween background. It's October 1st, and we are ready for Halloween. I love it.
Yeah, we went crazy at the dollar store. They had, the dollar store really has your back.
I have the exact same spider web. Oh my gosh.
The white one?
No, the black one.
Oh.
My mom went to the Dollar Tree and bought decorations for my place because she's like, it's not Halloween enough. And I'm like, because it's August. I don't need it yet. And so she bought things, and that was one of them.
Yeah, the only reason why I bought anything was because I have a daughter.
I know.
So I love it though. Like, I'm into it. And then, yeah, so and then we're going to have guests over, and we have to, my daughter's like, oh my God, we need to make it more Halloween. She has so many plans. And like, she doesn't know how to write yet, but she knows her letters. So there's just like a bunch of like sticky notes everywhere. And then like she puts them all over like in my backpack. So when I get to work and I'm like looking for something, there's sticky notes with this scripture. But yeah. So anyway.
Hieroglyphics.
Yeah. It's just like, and then numbers. And I'm like, okay, good for her. She steps outside of the box. But anyways, but they don't make sense. And she's like, Mom, read this. And I'm like, can you give me a hint? But anyways, So, okay, today we are going to talk about sugary beverages. Oh, good job, Jess. Is that water?
It is H2O.
That's sure the only thing you should ever
water
drink.
Container.
Ever. Just
and
kidding.
Coffee.
The research says you should only be drinking water and milk. And I'm assuming milk like for kids maybe. But like as an adult, I don't think you need milk. And if you do, to like spice things up, there's like different types of plant-based milks. I think the millennials are really gonna like mess-ish up for like the dairy industry. They're like, what do we do? Because these kids are really starting
pushing back.
It's just a lot of people, like when I see funny, like, like funny videos on YouTube or whatever, and it's like our age group, everyone's talking about like, you don't drink dairy, do you? You don't like it, they make it like a big deal because it's supposed to be funny. Like there's almond milk, there's oat milk, there's all these
soy milk.
Like you don't have to do that to yourself. And it's just funny, because it's just like, it's a whole thing. So I thought that was funny. But
yeah. And I like how this is under, again, the food justice category, which we've discussed several times throughout the Primas podcast. But what really influenced this week's topic is because Cindy saw me drinking Coke, and she's like, you know what? This has my head firing with ideas. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, oh, so this was like a low key comment, like, why am I drinking this sugary beverage? But look, here we are with this topic.
This is like an indirect intervention. And you all are with me, and we're going to talk to Jess about making better choices. No, I don't. Do you drink a lot of soda?
I don't, but it is definitely a splurge of mine. Like, I don't have it here in my house. My mom even typically doesn't buy it, but if I am going to splurge, I would do soda. Or if I it's my hangover drink. If I feel a little like cruda coming on,
you drink
I'll
soda?
Drink that.
Dang,
I crave soda.
Not water or like tea?
I can. Like, I have to drink like a cup full of ice, and then like fill it up with soda. And it's like the coldness, or I don't know why I crave it.
Well, beautiful. You crave it on purpose. It's designed to make you crave it. And I like to compare sugar, especially highly processed sugar, like white sugar, high fructose corn syrup, different types of sugars, which for the most part, the bad kind is the not natural fructose. But we're not going to get like into chemistry and stuff, because that just, the point is, out of all of the nutrients in the world, if you were to ask me, what's the worst one? It would be sugar. And And again, this is just based off my experience. Some people could argue that, but I think there's a lot too. There's a lot now coming up with regards to sugar, which is awesome. And I relate sugar a lot to crack cocaine. And when I was doing research for this, just to kind of be like, oh, what else is out there? I don't know. Like, there's always, more to learn. Especially when people are doing research on a certain type of sugar, it's like, ooh, what impact did that have? But anyway, what was I saying?
You were doing research and something.
Okay, yes. So I would relate it a lot because it's an upper, the sugar. It gives you energy, and energy at the most basic level. And I'm not like a biologist, a chemist, a physicist, none of this stuff, but just generally speaking, sugar is our energy source. Our food gets converted into sugar. And so it's not like sugar is bad, because sugar is also in nature. There is dessert in nature. Grapes, prunes, fruit. I mean, apple, but I mean, I'm talking this, really sweet, sweet potato, which is considered like more of a vegetable, but like put that in the microwave or heat it, and it's super sweet, right? And so there's just a lot of dessert and sugar in nature that can still even cause like cavities just naturally, even if you don't ever consume, like if you don't have good dental hygiene. But anyway, the point that I was trying to make is that when I was doing research on this topic, they were comparing it to alcohol, and they did break it down chemically. And alcohol, like the one that we consume, it's fermented fruit naturally. I'm not talking about processed alcohol. I don't know enough about alcohol to be like, what's the new stuff out there? Like, I don't know. But just, they were saying that that the liver processes sugar, like especially the bad sugar, which is like high fructose corn syrup, fructose, like the highly processed white sugars. But it causes a lot of similar issues that to the liver that you would also cause if you were like a highly, like a person that drinks alcohol a lot. So like alcoholic, or just people who are just like, alcohol is in their regular diet. The liver has to digest and process everything. And so sugar and alcohol both cause fatty liver disease, which means that the sugar, it's too much for our body. We don't need this much. So it converts it into fat. And so we don't correlate sugar with fat. So there's a lot.
And you know what? It always goes back to our studies, right? Like, I remember so many times they would show us like a lot of repetitive videos, and one of them was the one with the rat, where it had like two drinking options, and one was just pure water, and then the other one was like just simple sugar, or like white cane sugar, is that like the proper term, added to it. And then that and I want to say it was like a rat, right, in the study, and it would just constantly drink, like it wouldn't even touch the plain pure water, and it would drink it so much where it got obese and eventually died. Like, it wouldn't even eat. And I was just like tripping out on how some of those studies were ran, and I know we talk about psychology a lot, and a lot of these studies are inhumane, but we didn't run them. But they're interesting data, right, that they produce.
There's a lot of studies all the time today, still with mice, all the time. Because one that reminds me is when we studied a little bit about why do people do drugs, and they had a rat, and they had water, and then like cocaine infused water, or like however you would say that, and then so if the rat, because rat are social creatures as well, just as humans are, and so if the rat was alone, then he would go on like the cocaine situation, like he would prefer that. Where if the rat was socializing and it had space and it was happy, it had a good environment, low stress, it never touched the cocaine water. So there's videos on this on YouTube, like there's a lot of studies, but so
the sugary one was interesting. It just made me think about that.
We don't correlate sugar with fat, and that's the biggest thing, because fat causes a lot of health issues. Like when we were talking about fiber, same thing, like heart issues, your arteries get clogged, you get heart disease, and there's different types of heart disease. And then also it's really bad for your colon. It's bad for a lot of your systems because, again, we don't need it at the rate that now we're digesting it. And high fructose corn syrup is like the enemy number one for me. And it's a toxin just like alcohol. So our body will always react to toxins when they're in moderation. Of someone who drinks alcohol, but they're also like heavy on their fiber and they eat pretty healthy, like it's not that bad. But sometimes people who consume alcohol, like when you talk about behavior, when people consume alcohol on a more regular basis, like it's more of a habit, like a dependency now, maybe not full-blown alcoholic, but it's just a part of their, their weeks or whatever. If they, darn, I keep forgetting the point I'm trying to make.
Well, I was just going to ask that before we go into that point. I remember when you were a teacher and you were showing your students how to read those labels, right? And I always thought it was interesting because I remember like that stood out to me. Like we're not taught, and we just look at the front, the advertisement, which is like enticing, right? Which is what the big companies want us to do. They don't show us to like flip it over and in small crypto letters, like to read the ingredients. And I think you're the one who pointed that out to me. It's like usually the first ingredient, right? That like high fructose
of heated.
What is it called again?
High fructose corn syrup.
Yeah. And it's just usually in that simple verbiage, right? It's not like a scientific term, right?
No, and then it's not only that they use high fructose corn syrup, but they use so many other different types of sugars, but they're scientific names. Not a lot of us, and I'm exposed to this stuff because I have particular interest in it. But even me, I'm like, let me Google that. I have no idea what this word means. And even when you Google it, it's not going to come up that easy. You got to really find like, well, how is this used as a preservative? How is this used in this product? What does it cause when that product is? It's a lot of information that we don't know, that we don't have access to. Yeah, I wanted to go back to that point I was trying to make, but label reading is extremely, extremely important. Because like you said, the front of the packaging is always meant to entice us. It's colorful. If it's targeted towards youth, so like ages 0 to 18, then it's very particular to what's going to entice their psychology. And so sugar is extremely habit forming, not just chemically, but psychologically, because it's in everything in the American diet. And it's starting to spread into other countries. And now they're starting to see that obesity is becoming a problem because they've introduced like Domino's in India or McDonald's in China. McDonald's has been in China for a long time, but it's starting to really make more of an impact. It used to be more like it was in a popular place. Now it's starting to be more accessible. Why? Because it's not real food. It's very cheap and accessible to them, meaning that it doesn't have shelf life, and if something doesn't have shelf life, it means that it's fresh. So like there's that kind of comparison. Like if something can be in the shelf for a really long time and it can be shipped and imported and it just lasts long in a box and it doesn't need attention, that is a very highly processed product. And so it's very far away from its natural form. Like alcohol. You're not consuming fruit, it's a highly processed product that is now alcohol.
Correct.
And so, we got to think about how food is processed.
Yeah, and you're right. And our generation was probably one of the first to not really pay attention, right, to those labels that I think before where it was like a norm to go shopping more frequently, right? So you would have more of the freshness products. But then like in the 1950s, like we always talk about, is like when consumerism just like really jumped,
Yeah.
And it talks a lot about it in that book, Proteinaholic, I read, where around the 1950s is like mass production started. And especially when it came to like fast food and our diets, and it was more accessible for us. And we started consuming all these different ingredients at a much, much more alarming rate, right? And like having it 3 or 4 times a day, as opposed to having it like once a week when it was like a splurge thing,
Yeah. Food became corporate. And when anything becomes a business, it becomes about the profit. It no longer becomes about
The quality.
The quality. And when it comes to food, if you just cheapen it down so that it does have long shelf life, then they just want to sell it. And it's just like, we're not eating food anymore. And our bodies have adapted, but something like obesity rates going up, versus like how many people are like left that are hungry. Like that's what I started to see, like these graphs. And it was just like, that's because it's becoming more accessible. If it's business related, someone invented, oh, perfect, this is a synthetic form of sugar. Now we don't really have to go out and get cane sugar and grow it. And I mean, there's just so much to producing natural produce in a natural way, you know, like farming and stuff like that. If you can do something in a laboratory, in a factory where very small elements are needed, then you're going to sell your product and you're going to get a super big bang for your buck. And then now we have like people that are really sick and that are dying from this. And I think the craziest part is that children are targeted because you're creating, again, a habit forming client from the age of 0, because their formula has corn solids and so much sugar that we don't need. And so it's going to create cravings. So like if a kid's growing up and like with my daughter, it's a struggle. And I'm not trying to keep her like 100% away from the world. You know, I want her to make her own decisions and experience stuff, but I am a little bit strict on the diet, especially on the sugar. But she still consumes a lot of sugar. And we are going the healthy way about it. I don't give her juice. I don't give her soda. I never give, like, sugary beverages is one thing that I'm like, no. And if you want chocolate milk, if it's in the morning time, and I know there's going to be physical activity involved, which for her there always is, but like make your own. That way you have control. It's milk and it's chocolate powder. And the chocolate powder has sugar too, but still, you know, it's not, you're not getting like, there's just healthier ways that you can do things.
Yeah. And same with my daughter. I try to like limit that, you know, like I don't think she's ever had soda in my house, at least. I don't give her that, but I do give her those drinks. And it's really hard because it's like, we grew up drinking that, you know? So it's like, it's normalized. It's like, oh, those Kool-Aid packages. Remember those squeeze me or something? And it's like, why did we need those? Or the Capri Suns? It's
and
all
the thing
sugar.
is, though, it's worse now because high fructose corn syrup didn't come about until 1975. And so it entered the market, but they didn't just start putting it in everything. So the juice that me and you drank, my mom she never gave us, she was really strict about her diet too. I don't know why. But like when I would go to Jessica's, when I would have fun, because she had like real like fun cereal and like you just had things that I'm like, oh my God, my mom
like Apple Jacks and like
my
Frosted
mom
Flakes.
would never get us nothing. We had cornflakes and then you had sugar to it. And then
or
banana
Kicks.
or Kicks were like, whoa. Yeah. And so what were we saying? Why do I keep losing my
Oh, the juice is not the same.
Oh, yeah.
Our kids are drinking
so the more synthetic ways we find to make a product, they were even doing it with weed. And it's so dangerous. So like imagine now food and we eat it, and I guess it's not more deadly because we have adapted. Like the human body is, I mean, all species that are still here are very adaptable. So I think obviously we have adapted because when people say like organic, you know, like organic versus regular produce, I tell people like, don't stress. Like we're living paycheck to paycheck. Life, you know, life is crazy. And now we got to stress over like, what broccoli should I get? Like, no, get broccoli, right? Like that. Don't stress about like, why I can't afford the organic stuff. But we don't know what is original anymore because everything is genetically modified. It's easier that way. It's faster. And so that's why I think our bodies have adapted. Because, you know, if you have a high fiber diet, if you drink water, if you're physically active, low stress, you're not going to have like weight issues. And weight issues cause a lot of things that we don't think about, like joint problems or even arthritis. Like it's an inflammation issue and we don't ever relate it to diet.
I was just going to say that, or the inflammation.
Yeah, inflammation is a whole nother one. I think it's kind of like more of a step 2, right? Like it's more of a, because I don't like scaring people, or people will, they'll ask like, what's the easiest way to get healthy? It's like, start eating vegetables and reduce your amount of sugary beverages. So when we say sugary beverages, I'm talking soda, juices, any juice, even if it's like those juices that are like marketed to be healthy, they're very heavily processed. It's easier for you to put celery and all of these things in your blender than for it to come processed, because again, they're trying to extend the shelf life of the product. Yeah. So they're removing a lot of the important fiber.
And I was going to say, there's like not even a lot of regulation when it comes to that, because in those, when I was thinking about this topic, I was thinking about like all those kid drinks that my daughters are like, I want that juice. I want that juice. And it's in like bold letters in the front that says no added sugars. But I'm like, if we flip it and read the back, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's no added sugars, but they're going through these loopholes, and of course there's sugar added. So yeah, it's
like just different types of sugars, and there's 0-calorie sugars, but they're synthetic. They're modified. They're not. We shouldn't be consuming something that's not natural, and we're so used to it now. Our diet, it's so processed, and our fast food is like not real. Like I think about that a lot. Like this is not real food. Like whenever I get a hamburger or something, I'm like, what am I eating?
I know.
I don't stress about it like that. Right? Like I'm not gonna go into that, but I do think about it like, what is, like, I wonder what this is.
This is like spaceman food. You know how like we would see the Simpsons, like they put a bag and then like they put it in a microwave and out comes like a Happy Meal.
That's a great example, because you're right.
Because the Simpsons know everything. Yeah, they predict it.
Yeah, the Simpsons do know everything. Yeah, that's a great example, because those foods, they're able to stay, preserved for so long because there's very little natural food in it. And we can stay alive off of it, but it's just, if we do it for too long, it causes really detrimental side effects like weight gain. And I was saying earlier, weight gain and joint issues. A lot of people will say they have like hip problems, back problems, knee problems, or just these aches and pains that sometimes are related to our weight gain. It's kind of like with your teeth, because I have really bad teeth. And if, let's say I get a cavity on this side, so I start eating more on this side to overcompensate, right? Is that what you say?
Yes.
And so then this side starts to get weaker because there's too much pressure on this side. So there's other things that are happening, right? Like that's the best way that I can say it. Like if you have gut issues, you're also going to have low energy, and we don't relate low energy to our diet. And so low energy, when you have to come home to kids or you're at work and you're required to not have low energy, it's so frustrating. And then what do we go and do? We get in a bad mood, and then we get an energy drink or coffee. We're not fixing the problem. We're putting a Band-Aid over it. And then so we consume that stuff, and then we get dependent on that, and that starts depleting something. You know what I mean? It's just one issue after another that we never got to the root of it, which was your diet. That's not the only thing. Obviously, like injury and stress, like there's other things, but a lot of the stuff that I see around me and my environment, I'm always like, it's your diet. You can change it, and I don't tell people that, because I think that's very personal. Food justice is a thing because we don't have access to information. So I would never tell someone that doesn't know, like it's just a big concept. So I think that's why I like sharing it, is because do what you can, but know that these things are reversible. Like I strongly believe in that a lot of illnesses are reversible with the power of taking care of yourself, and then the power of your mind, like your thoughts.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I never would say I was addicted to these things, because I've worked with people where they have to have like a Coke a day, or like a Monster, or those energy drinks a day. But I will admit, when I was pregnant, I don't know why I was craving soda all the time. And even after I had her, I think I saw a glimpse of like, oh shit, like my body is legit craving it, because in my heart, I knew it was wrong, but my mind was like, nope, soda, go get one. And And it was just like,
cravings.
yeah. And I remember I had to like reduce the amount. Like if soda was there, I'd be like, okay, I want it. And before I wasn't like that, just looking at it or like seeing it accessible in someone else's fridge. I'm like, oh yeah, I want one.
Yeah.
And it tripped me out. Like I was seeing myself, like I felt like I had an out of body experience. So I was like, why am I doing this?
Jessica,
But like,
stop it. And you're like, I can't. I know. I talk to myself too.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's like the good devil or the devil and the angel, and the devil always won. Like I was like, you're right, bro. Like I flicked off the angel.
Yeah, and you know what other substance causes cravings? A lot of the harsh ones that like freaking spike you, but like the one that we know of the most, right, is like crack cocaine. It causes those spikes, and so that's why you crave it, because when you're coming off of it, you're like, oh no, I want that rush again, and we don't know it because it's chemical, but then it's also psychological. So we start like you said, you're like, don't do it, like, but I want to, and you're like it's crazy. No, it's like you're fiending for sugar, highly processed sugar, and it's in everything, I think, because it is habit forming. How can it's okay, those stores like at the mall, or they're all over the place. It's the sugar factory. Like those stores, I'm like, it trips me out that trap houses, like where you're really selling drugs. It's like, oh no, you're the worst of the worst of the worst. And then you have a sugar factory where all of that is processed corn syrup, and it's targeted towards kids. That's not fucked up. That's not I'm always like, this is a trap house, and it's free to it's accessible. Like, it's crazy. I won't even go in there. I'm like, don't. And my daughter knows.
You go like this, you close her eyes.
I was like, don't look that way. She's like, I can't look. But because she does go with like other people, and I don't control it, but I'm like, no, she needs to know sugar is public enemy number one to me. And that has a lot to do with food justice. People are being poisoned through food. Kids are being poisoned through food. And it's heavily advertised. And
that's why I said there's not a lot of regulation for it, right? And that's a good point.
Yeah. There can't be regulation on anything that creates a profit, is what I noticed. Like, what else gets imported? Guns. Well, guns have a great shelf life. Those things will last forever. Clothing, and then food. What kind of food? Not like bananas and stuff. I mean, they are imported like to Colorado, for example, but like, it's bad. We don't get good bananas out here. And I love bananas because they're imported. We get a lot of produce from like New Mexico, California, and it's just horrible. It's like, ugh. And because I'm like, they force things to
be in season when it's not supposed to.
And it's just, you can tell. You're just kind of like,
I actually have a coworker who grew up like around a farm town or something, and she always says she doesn't eat things that she knows are not in season, because she's like, I know this is like force. Yeah, it's like so processed and stuff, and she has a good idea of like what's in season or not. And whatever's in season, like she'll stock up on that. And I'm like, oh, that's so trippy. Like, we grew up in the city. What do we know about what's in season or not? Everything's in season all year long out here. But that's a good point.
But it happens to be because of the weather, for example, so that's another thing. There's a lot of things that are grown in different places that it's like, that's not its natural habitat. So it's going to grow way differently. You might get nutrients out of it, but you just know the real taste. When you go down to Mexico and you try an apple or an orange from there, they don't use GMOs yet. I think my mom was saying that like they're starting to introduce it, of course. But like, you'll get a real orange, and it does not taste like the oranges even in California. And California is the closest because they get a lot of produce from Mexico. But it's rich. It's like, oh my God, this is what an orange is supposed to taste like. It's crazy. It's trippy because you're like, what the hell am I eating? It's a very controlled seed. What we're eating, but
yeah, I know.
Okay.
I think the nearest experience I had like that was when I went to Thailand. I had like authentic food, and I was like, this isn't bad. And they're like, nope, it really is. And I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't woke then. I was still like asleep.
You're like, oh, these people.
I know.
So funny. They don't have real American food.
I know.
Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't realize how much the American culture had an impact on the rest of the world, because I feel like some Americans have like, I'm like, no, like Mexico, for example, like, there's a lot like people in our age, it's they mimic a lot of like American society and stuff. And I'm like, it's fake. It's fucking fake. It's consumerism. It's materialism. You guys are legit, you know, like you're tied a little more to the roots. You're not corporate yet. And that to me is more authentic. So when I trip out that, like, I read that in India, you know, they have KFC and Domino's now, and it's cheap, and people are like, oh, I'm gonna eat this then because that's what this costs. I can feed my whole family, and it's fucking not food. And I'm like, no. And they have like gallery. How do you say it? Galleries, like mall
food courts.
Well, but it's like in the mall style, and they're showing them, and it's all based off of American culture. Like they wanted to redesign, and there's like a Starbucks. Yeah. And I'm just like, damn, wherever you see a Starbucks, it's over.
I know. And you said it's like, you've said it several times, but it's like that psychology, you know, there's a purpose. It's not just put there on accident or because it looks nice. They legit see what attracts people and what doesn't. And to me, that's like way more trippier because they're winning, you know, like I buy into it all the time.
And when you say they know what's going to be attractive to others, they have scientists and neuroscientists tapping into these things. They have to. You can't read our mind. Just, it's not a coincidence. They're really studying everything. And now with our lovely phones, we're like sharing all of our behavior. They know. It's a crazy time.
They're listening right now.
Very crazy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, our behavior is captured. Like, and so it's just easier to study now because before nobody knew what was going on behind closed doors now.
And it was costly, you know, to go out, to have populations and samples and all that, to conduct an actual study was very costly, you know, and that's why they use all these like other shortcuts. But you're right. Now they don't need all that. They just got to pull and buy our information essentially, you know?
Yeah.
And there's no regulation on that either.
No, because it produces a profit of some sort. Because when you think about obesity and heart problems and diabetes, like type 2 diabetes, these things, I mentioned this documentary before. It's called Unnatural Causes. It's like a PBS like documentary. You can buy it or watch it, like rent it. But anyway, it talks about how a doctor says in the United States, we're in the business of treating, not curing. Meaning that to treat is to keep someone sick and treating their symptoms. It's not saying we're going to get to the root of the problem and cure you.
To prevent it. There's no preventable.
Yeah, because if you're sick, you're going to need medication, insulin, all of my grandma's medication. My grandma's on like a whole thing. And there's so many people that way. And so it's like, that's treatment. And treatment is going to give you a huge revenue for pharmaceutical. I mean, look at the vaccine drama right now. Do you know how much money and then it's like, it's an enforcement now. That's like perfect. Just like, car insurance. I'm not going to lie. There was a time in my life where the Black Pearl wasn't covered. So I was going through some.
Yeah. Cause no one would insure it. They're like, this is a guarantee accident waiting to happen. They were going to lose money if they insured it. You're right.
Whatever. But anyways, there was a time, right? Because I had liability and I was paying like $45 and then I was going to get another, whatever. I was just like, I don't need it for a month. But my thing is insurance. I remember reading about that. I don't remember where, but like it wasn't a business. And they're like, okay, but if we have some sort of ties, if this person can get this much portion, well, if we just enforce it, then you're forcing it on someone to do it. And there's always a reason why. We don't know it, but there's always because I'm just like, why isn't it our responsibility? Like if we hit a car and we damage it, then it's on you. It's on you. You're going to pay the consequences, right? No, it's illegal not to have car insurance. And like they made that a rule not so long ago.
Yeah.
Like I was still in college when I'm like, oh shit, it's like legal. Like we got to do it now. Like I can't just use this sticker my grandpa got me. Cause our family is really good at
reusing
the opposite of the right thing.
You're going to drive that car. Okay. Let's put the stickers on that car.
Yes. So, but so it's just interesting how you can just see the trend. Like if it's going to cause revenue, it's going to blow up. The other thing that became corporate, getting off topic real quick, is social media. Remember the
That's
MySpace
way
thing?
off topic.
Yeah,
Yes,
you're
we're
right.
talking about food justice.
Okay,
And I was
remember
going to say,
MySpace?
but in the, let's not go
Let's talk
down that
about
rabbit
that.
hole. It's not.
What happened?
I was gonna say, like, with that comment you had said though about like what makes it a profit, and in the book Proteinaholic, the guy who wrote it was a doctor, and he said it became a business for liposurgery or the gastric bypass and the lap band and all that, which is like the thing after, right? The treatment you said. And there's no, well, when it, let's prevent this from all happening. But because surgery and all those like cosmetic surgeries became a business, it's like, no, we're going to make more money. The insurance is going to pay for it. And they're going to show that this is saving your life. But it's like, you're not fixing the problem. You're not getting to the root of the solution. But they're still going to eat make poor choices
They're
in
gonna
their
fall into
diet.
this again, or it's gonna
Yeah.
get worse. Yeah, or
Yeah.
they're gonna die from it eventually.
Uh-huh. And that's what he said. All his clients who had that surgery would come back after like 2 or 3 years and get it smaller or like tighter, or I don't know what the correct term is. And it's just like because they're not coming up with a solution. And his
Yeah.
solution was a vegan diet.
Yeah, when I was in at ELAC, shout out to my ELAC professor. He passed away, but he was like in a war of some. He was old. I don't even remember his name, but he was awesome. He still taught with a chalkboard. Biology winter quarter. That's like a month.
Still wrote in cursive?
No, I don't think in cursive, but he was really good with the chalkboards and drawings, and I was like, oh my god, cool. But it was just so old school. Yeah. And he said that sweet and low, that was the devil. And we were like, why? And then the way he would story tell too, I mean, he was old. He would be like, they found it that like in one war, it was like gunpowder. It was sweet. And they're like, oh, we can sell this and it doesn't have any calories. And we can sell this as a substitute for sugar. And so he was like, so whenever I go to a restaurant, I say, get that away from me. And like, he would make it a big deal. Like nobody knew what the hell he was talking about.
Your PTSD, relax.
Yeah.
No, that's good though. That's what.
Yeah, because that's what happened. Like, oh shit, this can help this. It's like, you're not curing anything. Like, who cares? But this is a good Band-Aid and people are going to buy it. So it's about mental discipline at the end of the day.
Yeah. I like how you loop that with last week's topic. You creative little rascal.
I wanted to bring up I did talk about that. Well, we've talked about a lot. Good for us. Yeah. Okay. So two like fun facts, and then we'll get to solutions. So Gatorade was bought by Pepsi in 1992. And before that, Gatorade, like people didn't really like it as much. And then it became a boom when Pepsi bought it because Pepsi added high fructose corn syrup. So there's another like, oh, this is going to sell because it's selling with Pepsi.
They're like, you're missing this ingredient, bro.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Yeah.
And then they like monetized off it.
Yeah.
Clever.
And heavily targeted to kids.
So.
And then, and I think a lot of people might think like, oh, we get cavities or as kids, like it's bad when you don't brush your teeth. You know, there's a lot of things that happen, but like people only think that like straight up candy, that's the bad stuff. And it's like, no, because the same ingredients that are in candy are also in juices and in sodas and in like chocolate milks, you know, all the flavored stuff. And so that's important to note because, yeah, I remember someone telling me one time, like, well, I don't give the kids any candy, but like they always had juice or chocolate milk, you know? And I'm like, it's that sugar, no matter where it's coming from, is going to stick to the teeth. It's a toxin. It starts to be toxic immediately. So it starts in the teeth and then, you know, in the rest of our body. But for kids, you know, for sugar to be targeted, it's like, it's very detrimental. And let's be honest, like who is on top of brushing your teeth and your kids' teeth 3 times a day, flossing, like that's really hard. Like I try to do it as best as I can. And I feel really bad when I don't, but it's crazy. It's like, okay, but if you just drink water, if you never drink sugar and we just brush it real quick, we don't got to floss. Or you know what I mean? It's like, there's a lot that goes into, it's very habit forming as a child.
Yeah.
And then the parent is the bad guy.
And they don't even do the silver teeth anymore. Like how we have, remember the silver kid? Like you would see like those bad kids who like ate all the sugar and candy.
Had kids?
Yeah. And
Who
then
has a silver tooth?
yeah, she's a for sure silver kid tooth for sure.
Yeah.
She fits under that realm.
Did I tell you about that meme about Valentine's Day? Like, we'll watch your kids? That little joke? Okay, it was a meme that I saw. It said, for Valentine's Day, we'll babysit your kid. It's like 100 for a kid, but it's like 400 for a kid with a silver tooth. I think Martin sent it to me or something, because he always sends like those little inconsiderate jokes about my daughter. And I was just like, that's messed up, but I would pay them more. Be like, hey, and I'll run before they sense anything. I'll be like, you agree, you consented. Just give me 2 hours.
That's true. But yeah, and they got so clever now. They don't even have silver teeth. Like it's like white ones now. I've
Porcelain,
seen kids.
oh.
Yeah, the porcelain one. And I was like, whoa. But even in kids, you know what I mean? Because it's like it was such a bad negative stereotype, like what we just
keep
said.
them. We need to bring them back.
I know, to identify, right?
That'll be in the front. Yeah. See, and that's another thing. Like, why aren't we tackling the diet that is making our teeth go messed up, or just our hygiene? No one really talks to us about brushing our teeth correctly, and like, I don't know, just the dental stuff. So we should talk solutions. Don't consume it. Just kidding. Just don't do it, guys. All right. Bye. Just kidding. So there's 3 simple solutions to one of these presentations I saw. And I thought it was like super like to the point. It's a little harsh, but it's like there's 3. So aim in life to get to this point. So one is only drink water and milk. So I said that in the beginning. So that's one of the solutions. Yeah, just water and milk. There, this presentation made a very strong point that there is no flavored water or like drink that is healthy. None. If it's not, because you think of like iced teas or whatever, or like teas, like sure, but like when we go to McDonald's or just no one's drinking fucking iced tea and not adding sugar to it. Okay? You know what I mean? Even the sweet tea at McDonald's has everything. The unsweetened tea at McDonald's is sweetened. When people are like, "Oh, this is unsweetened tea," and I drink it, I'm like, "No, it's not. It's soda. Like, it's just not." No, but they have one that's unsweetened and it's plain. It tastes like water. Oh, okay. But you're talking about maybe the sweet tea? Maybe, yeah. I used to get it thinking it was healthier than soda, and it's not. Yeah. It's bad. Because it has high fructose corn syrup. And then, so some things if people are like struggle with water, like you can add fruit to it, you can add ice. I mean, find out what works for you. And then with regards to like kids, so again, in my house, we have chocolate powder. We have Chocomil from Mexico because it has regular sugar in it. And, every once in a while she forgets, like if I put it away, but like every once in a while she's like, "Can I get chocolate milk?" And I'm like, "Yeah, go crazy." Because I know at least there's 2 ingredients, And then, or I guess 3. Eat carbs with fiber. So carbs, get turned into sugar. But if you eat it with fiber, that's the secret. Because a lot of people think carbs are bad. And sometimes I'm really bad. And it's hard, when you're disciplining yourself on a diet. And I can see it with like my face or like my hormones during that time of the month. But the one thing that I've been able to do is keep my weight at the same. Like no matter what, my weight stays the same. And I think it's because I make it a point to consume a lot of vegetables, whether that's in a smoothie, whether that's in a shake, whether it's in my breakfast. I mean, no matter what, I'm always trying to eat a vegetable so that when I do eat bad, when I do have that hamburger, because I've been driving all day and I'm effing hungry and I don't have nowhere to heat up my food, that hamburger doesn't do anything to me. So I think that's another thing we need to tap into. We talked about fiber a few episodes ago, so check that out if you haven't. Fiber is like a huge one. Yeah. Because it's like if you do eat something bad, it'll be fine if you just like replenish with an apple, a green smoothie, your own smoothie, spinach, celery is the superfood for me. So yeah. So if you are going to eat carbs, just make sure there's a fiber. And then I wanted to say that our planet is so amazing and it provides, like we were saying earlier, it provides natural dessert like sweet potato, grapes, apples. The plethora of diversity of fruit and vegetables that we have. But also you could argue that like there's a lot of sugar in fruit. And so what I got from this presentation was that anything in nature is going to have a balance. Like it's meant to be healthy for us. So if you do have a fruit that's high in sugar, let's say, for example, an apple, the skin is very, very high in fiber. So again, it's a sugar paired with fiber. So I don't know, I just started to think like, oh, that's a good way to look at it. Anytime you eat something bad or something like a cookie, a donut, whatever, like at some point in that day, drink a lot of water so that you can help your body process that. And then also like a vegetable of some sort, high in fiber. And then adding regular physical activity. So that could be walking, it could be going on a treadmill and like inclining it and walking uphill, running, hiking, going to the park, playing with your kids, cleaning. Like, you know, when you do deep cleaning and you're like, you're moving your body. Stretching. We need to talk about stretching.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's very important. Because I feel like when I don't stretch, I feel it. And I think it's my age. But I'm like, imagine if I never moved, and I try to move as often as possible. When we get to this age, and like this whole week at work, it's caused me to like sit down a lot. Either I was driving to do like just work related stuff, or if I am on like my computer at work, I'm in a stand-up desk, but I'm in a stagnant position. Even if I am standing up, yes, it's better because I'm not going to have pain, but I'm not moving, you know, I'm in one position, and it just hurts my back, and like my neck starts to get tense. And so, you know, like and then when I stretch or work out, even if I go hiking, like, I don't know, it just feels so much better.
Yeah, you feel the difference.
Yeah. So
this was a good topic. Yeah, as always, I love talking about food justice, and this was just a little under the umbrella.
Yeah, you guys. So we hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave us any information, any feedback, no matter what it is. I promise we won't be mad. But no, this is one of our food justice stuff. There's 2 more left or so. Be on the lookout. But yeah, look into this stuff, you guys. Like all of this stuff that I said, it's on YouTube. It's in research papers, like all accessible to everybody. So, you know, do your own research. Do what's going to, you know, work for you. All right. Well, Primas.
Great topic.
Ow.
Bye.
Remember you used to say that?
Oh, yeah.
Or that wasn't me?
That was both of us or just me?
No, I think it was Melissa.
Oh, yeah.
Melissa.
Gotta bring her back.
We gotta bring her back. She's going to do it. Her daughter's 5 now, so I think she's ready. Just kidding.
All right. Bye, Prima. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, no.